Hey y'all. So welcome to your first ever recorded lecture or flipped classroom lecture, however you want to call that. Okay, the cool thing here, if I'm talking too fast, make sure you pause me, get the notes that you need, and then play the video again. Few rules I want you to know, you'll notice here on the screen. Okay, rules for these PowerPoints. If it's in red, you need to write this down word for word. Don't skip any. If it's yellow, I misspelled yellow there, you need to summarize this yellow stuff in your own words because it is still important. And if it's green, you don't need to write it down. Just sit and listen. Okay, so the first thing, the title of your notes here, it's called biomolecules. Make sure you get that one down. So what is a biomolecule? Okay, that's any molecule present in anything that's living. Okay, so there's 4 ones that we'll talk about specifically, but we'll get into those here in a few minutes. One thing you do need to know when you're taking this test or in class, if I call a biomolecule a macromolecule, same thing, just means it's big. If I call it a micromolecule, it means it's small. Okay, so macro, big, micro, small. Few other important words you need to know. I know this sounds like a lot of vocabulary, hang with me. Monomer, the word monomer means building block. Okay, so think about you've got a Lego house. This is one little, sorry, my dogs are really going crazy in there if you can hear that. Monomer, mono, the word means one. So that's just one piece of your Lego house. Okay, polymer, poly means many. A polymer is going to be a big long chain of those monomers. So this is your Lego, you're starting to build your Lego house here. So your monomers are your bricks, your polymers are going to then eventually build your house. All right, so we're going to talk about 4 biomolecules here. The first one that we're going to talk about is called a nucleic acid. Now, nucleic acids are going to come in one of 3 forms: DNA, RNA, or ATP. Now hang with me about ATP. You'll see it in a slide here in just a second. Now you need to know DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. I bet you heard that in 7th grade. RNA stands for ribonucleic acid. And these things, their function is your genetic information. So your nucleic acids make you who you are. Okay, the monomer, remember, monomer, that's the building block of one of these nucleic acids, is called a nucleotide. Now remember, color change here. Yellow means summarize this information. Now a nucleotide is going to be made of 3 parts. The first part is this guy right here. That's a sugar. Okay, you have 2 options for those sugars: deoxyribose or ribose. The second part is called a phosphate group. That's this circle right here. And then the last thing is what's called a nitrogen base. That's where it says uracil right here. Now, pause the video, draw this picture in your notes. It will be a quiz question, so make sure that you get this picture copied. Now, literally, draw me a circle, a pentagon, and you can even make this simpler and draw a square. Okay, so it doesn't have to have all these lines coming off of it. Circle, pentagon, and square, and you're good to go. All right, remember how I told you we'd come back to the third type, ATP? All right, ATP special. It's literally just for energy. Okay, this is what we use as fuel. So whenever we eat, anything that we're going to eat is going to eventually be broken down into ATP. So those are nucleic acids. We're going to move into lipids next. Okay, some examples of lipids: fat, steroids, and then the big one that we're going to talk about that really matters is called a phospholipid. Now, these guys are insoluble in water. Now, what does that mean? It's not going to dissolve in water. Okay, so At some point in your life, you probably stuck either some salad dressing or some oil in water and tried to shake it up. You saw the two separate, right? Well, that's insolubility. That's what that property is the fact that those two things separate. Okay, now the function of a lipid, there's a couple. First off, long-term energy. Okay, so whenever we've run out of the energy from our food, we're going to store up some energy in the form of a lipid. Next thing, insulation and cushion. So it's going to keep us warm and keep us from getting hurt whenever we fall. The important one here, they make up the cell membrane. Now our whole body, every single cell in it has a cell membrane, and those things are vastly important. Okay, and then our lipids also function as hormones, so those keep us steady and keep us regular. Okay, I hope you're really good at making a T-chart because we do a lot of T-charts in biology. So, pause in your notes, make yourself a T-chart. Okay, one side of your T-chart, I want you to label it saturated fat. That's how you spell it right here. I'm circling it. The other side is going to be unsaturated fat. Okay, you got it? All right, let's move on. Okay, things you need to know about saturated. So this is the left-hand side of that T-chart. Those suckers are solid. So I want you to think like butter. Okay, butter is a solid saturated fat. Now, these guys have no double bonds. Okay, do you see how when you look at all these C's in a big line right here, there is no what looks like an equal sign? Okay, that means no double bonds. Also, these bad boys are unhealthy. Those are the ones that are going to clog your arteries. Okay, so all of these come from animals in some way, shape, or form. So think about that bacon grease. Okay, that's a saturated fat. Okay, now the right-hand side, your unsaturated fats. See right here where this arrow's pointing, this equal sign? Okay, that's what we call a double bond. Now an unsaturated fat is going to have at least one of those. Okay, next thing you need to know, these guys are liquid. So this is your oils. Okay, maybe you put oil on your salad. We consider these healthy fat. So you need some fat in your diet. These are the ones you want to eat, okay, are the unsaturated fats because they come from plants and not animals. All right, our body fat that keeps us warm, those guys are called triglycerides. Okay, yeah, you got to have that one in your notes. Remember, triglyceride, aka body fat, and it helps keep us warm. All right, steroids. If you didn't know, most steroids are hormones, and they function, again, to just kind of keep our bodies regular. Now, the important one that we really want to focus on when it comes to lipids are called phospholipids, because these guys make up our cell membrane. Okay, another name for the cell membrane is actually called the phospholipid bilayer, because it's two layers. So right here, if we were to cut this in half, okay, if you look at this one set of balloons, okay, I kind of think it looks like a balloon with two tails. Okay, that's one layer, and then flip it upside down, and you've got two. This is exactly what kind of a scaled down version of your cell membrane looks like. Now, draw this picture right here. Again, it's two rows of balloons that face each other, okay, because we will come back to that multiple times. All right, I'm going to go take a break. I'll come back and do proteins and carbs here in just a second.